What the heck is going on in Washington, D.C.? What is taking the D.C. Circuit so long? What are they hung up on? What are the issues that could be taking so long? January 9th is when they heard this, and we're now 3 weeks after that. Going into next week is going to be a whole month from when the D.C. Circuit, the panel of 3 judges, heard the presidential immunity claim, and it's holding up the case against Donald Trump in front of Judge Tanya Chutkan. In fact, today, she issued a minute order saying that it is no longer happening on March 4th, and the jury selection that was going to happen prior to that, that is also on hold. She said, until if and when the circuit rules and sends a mandate back to potentially hear the case. So if and when, those were carefully chosen words. I think she's basically signaling to the DC Circuit that I couldn't wait any longer and I had to stop this. I don't know what you're doing or when you're doing it, but we are on hold until you decide whether we can go forward or not. And so what is going to happen? She also has another trial starting April 2nd that she scheduled. So she does not see this trial happening in March or in April. And we know that Alvin Bragg is starting his case March 24th, the election interference case, the first election interference case where he paid off a porn star and tried to suppress information and then lied about it so that it wouldn't come out and hurt his bid for re-election. He not only lied about it, he falsified business records in New York and to cover it up because he wouldn't want to have to disclose that he did this, right? Because then that would defeat the whole purpose, because then the information would come out. So that case is going to be going March 24th. The jury selection, I think, will take at least a week, and it'll continue. The government thinks, the DA's office, my old office, believes that their direct case is about a month long. I think it's going to be much longer because if there is a skilled cross-examiner on the case, like Susan Nicholas, instead of Alina Habba, who I have to say is not a skilled trial attorney. It'll be interesting. Susan Nicholas or one of the other lawyers that he has could have Michael Cohen on the stand for a week, a really good skilled defense attorney. There's a lot there that you could cross-examine him on because credibility is a very, very important issue. It's always relevant and it's always an issue. And so that is going to take us through April at least, and I think also into May, possibly the end of May. So will this case go by June, the Tanya Chutkan case? Well, now what else is scheduled for May is the Mar-a-Lago case, where we heard this week that the FBI missed 2 secret rooms, a locked closet that they saw but chose not to go into, and another secret room in Donald Trump's office. So that could go in May, although it's never going in May because all the smoke signals and tea leaves that Judge Cannon is sending out, it's clear she's going to delay that case. So will the DC case go before the election in November? Could it go in June, July, August, any of those? And a lot of people have said, well, first of all, there's this policy in the Department of Justice to not interfere with elections, and you can't get too close to the elections. But that's a policy. First of all, it's an internal policy. It's not written. It's just what they say is that you don't take any investigatory steps, within 60 days of an election because all investigations are very secret, and there's like a shroud of secrecy, and it could without giving. The investigators aren't going to give any information, and there's no forum for a defendant to respond because they don't even know what's necessarily about, and so it could unnecessarily taint an election, and that's why they have that policy when it comes to investigations and investigatory steps. However, this is a trial. And so Merrick Garland even has said out loud and in public that this case will go on even if it gets closer to an election, because that's up to a trial judge, and that's where it's all public. And in fact, it helps the defendant who's running for office, because if he's innocent, then put the government to its test. and see what happens. And if you're innocent, all the information will come out. You can cross-examine witnesses, and it's actually a good thing. So there's a chance if we could get the DC Circuit to rule and make these decisions, and if we could see if they issue what's called a mandate to go forward, that then shortens the time frame with which it kind of puts Trump's feet to the fire and makes it so that he has to appeal it much more quickly to the Supreme Court than if they don't do that, because then it just kind of starts the clock again and Chutkan can go forward. So what could happen after the ruling in the DC Circuit? First of all, there was a 3-judge panel that heard it. They're going to be determining questions like jurisdiction, whether or not it was appropriate to do this midstream appeal, or whether you have to wait until the end where there's a conviction. Are they going to be writing a unanimous opinion or not? And we'll see. Typically, I've been told that they usually drop cases they file their decisions on Tuesdays and Fridays, but this case is not like any other case, so I'm sure it could even take longer. So now 3 weeks have passed since the oral argument, and I'm not even sure if they did start the Chutkan trial. If they did start the Chutkan trial, if they would finish it before the election. Now that gets kind of dicey because this is at least a 3-month trial, and so let's say Donald Trump is on trial in New York starting in March, and that goes to June. You still have to give more time in the Chutkan case because they didn't finish all the rulings. They didn't finish the motions in limine. They didn't finish. They were about 60 days out from getting ready to trial. So I do think that she would have to give them the amount of time that this was paused in order for them to get ready for the trial. And we'll see what happens. It will necessarily start sometime this summer if they're willing to do that. But again, it could go up until the election in November, which would be sort of interesting and unprecedented. I do think that if the DC Circuit rules, and if the en banc, meaning the full panel, either hears it or denies to hear it, if they rule either way quickly, and it goes to the Supreme Court quickly, I think there is time for Chutkan to ask Juan Merchan, the judge in the Bragg case, to step aside, which he said he'd willing to do. But he's not going to do it if there's no date on the calendar. He's not going to do it out of speculation, I don't think. And if this case doesn't go before the election, we're not going to get to see the evidence, and the electorate and the American people aren't going to get to see it. So we need the DC Circuit to rule. We need this to go quickly. And one way or another, we just need to have this happen before the election, because we all know if Donald Trump wins the election, the case goes away because he'll control the Department of Justice and he'll pardon himself. So that's what's going on. It's very important that they move quicker than they are, because no matter what the ruling is, in the end, Trump wins if he doesn't have to go to trial. He doesn't want to go to trial. He doesn't want to face any of this because he will be found guilty in a hot minute because the evidence is overwhelming. So let's keep the pressure on, because we got to get these cases going. We got to get these trials going, no matter the outcome. Let's just get people under oath. Let's see the evidence and let the jury decide. The jury that Donald Trump picks, by the way. So all this stuff about this person is a Biden plant, and that's like I was saying about Judge Lewis Kaplan, who's a lifetime appointee. Yeah, he's been there since Clinton, who appointed him. Biased Lewis Kaplan, this, that, and the other thing. Well, guess what? That was a jury who awarded the 85 or 88 million, whatever it was, dollars to E. Jean Carroll. That was not the judge who did it. That was the jury that you picked, okay, that Donald Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, agreed to, because both sides get to challenge jurors and both sides get to pick the jury. And P.S., that was in federal court, which doesn't just pull from Manhattan, which does vote blue. It also pulls people from north of Manhattan, the Bronx and Westchester County. And Westchester County also is not as liberal as Manhattan. He had an opportunity to have a jury that was fair and impartial, and they are the ones who awarded E. Jean Carroll that verdict. So we need to have these cases go as well, especially the one in front of Judge Tanya Chutkan. I'm Karen Friedman Agnifilo with Legal AF. Join us every Wednesday and Saturday.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.